Alright, so like I said in the other video, my intro, unfortunately we got the dreaded broken cable. That's as far as it goes. This is the part number. I'll put a link in the description. I know it says right hand side, but I understand they are the same. So the first things you really got to do is start getting access to all this. So believe it or not, that's plastic. That's metal. This plastic piece has to come off. It's got a Phillips screw that we're going to get to from the back side. It's on the inside there. And then it's got these Torx bits right here. Then on the inside, you've got to get out this panel here. So I'm going to take out this, and then there's one identical to it here on this side, and this whole piece is going to pop out. And then this trim from this gray, the darker gray trim, or charcoal I guess it's colored, I don't know. That's all got to come out. This is an Elite, so it's also got audio and headphones and electrical there, and then you got an electrical connector there, so it's probably gonna have one connector back there and then who knows back there, but that whole panel's got to come out. So I'm gonna get started. Stuff here. So just unthread this. You might have to get some pliers on it. You might want to protect them with some tape. Mine was loose, so another one right here. All right, and then this panel comes straight up. Just comes up straight up like that. Well, it appears I messed that up. So at the very bottom, you got to pull it out first because there's these two tabs. So the one stayed in there. So you really want to take your hand, get behind it, and pull that out on each corner, and then pull it straight up because it's got these little tabs here that go into these holes along the top here. And the only reason you really need to take that out is because you need to get access here. Now, I've got hitch electrical adapter, so might be a good time for me to run it through underneath, honestly. But that's the only reason you need access. All right, you got another one of those little things up here. So this one, it didn't come out. Oh, it came out with the stud after I pulled it out. Here, I'll show you. The stud comes out separately sometimes. So I'm just going to take this and thread it back on. You really want the stud off on this one. All right. Then I'm just going to pull this weather strip off a little bit, just through here. And you kind of hold, you saw me hold, I held up here. I held up here so that I didn't pull this trim off because it's clipped to it up here. Alright, so you see the little clips right here that are going to release. That would have tried to pull this other panel off. And you can see it's just held on with these little plastic little push I don't know what they are, buttons. Alright, at this point I'm just going to fold back the seat. I really need to get that captain's chair out. I just keep working this panel off. Trying not to break anything. Use one of these little panel tools if you need to. May have to fold this seat back up. It's just not, this chair, this seat here is in my way. Alright, go ahead and pop the door open a little bit. Hold this weather strip up. I'm gonna fight the door. The door's wanting to shut. Not electrically or anything, it's just wanting to move on me. Put my knee in there. These little panel tools work good to get up under the seal. I'm gonna pry this seal out. Alright, that's as far as I need to go. They've got adhesive on here holding it on, so alright. And then I can start popping this panel loose. Again, you want to hold this up here if you can. There we go. Looks like I need to go ahead and get this floor, this trim piece down here done. So this is going to be fun because the door likes to move on you. This just comes straight up. Gotta get your fingers under it. Come on. Try not to break anything. All right. It's just got the little same little clips, and you got to get that out because this panel's trapped up under there. You get the seat belt under it as well. So when you have this out, be careful. There's tons of electrical connectors right here, and the electrical wire. You wouldn't want to step on any of these connectors. So, all right, I should have brought a block of wood to block the door off. Seat belt, work it under it. Alright, so I've gone ahead and just put a little 2x4 in the door to help keep it open and give me a little more room. And then I peeled up the carpet stuff. Here I just pushed against this and pulled it out. So that has these little clips up here. So you got a little clip right there. And then these slide into some grooves on these panels. I'll show you when I get it out. I think we're ready to pull it. All right, and on the Touring Elite, like I said, you got 110 electrical outlet there, and then funnel plugs for your headphones, and then the left and right video in as well, audio in. So we got two connectors for that. He's gonna push down on that tab, and you might have to shove the connector. Something just fell. You might have to shove the connector into it a little further before you can get it out. There's one. might need a second hand to get that one. This one ended up coming out. I just had to get both of my hands on it and push on the button and pull. All right, and then in the back, you got this connector, and you just give it a little push right here on this little button. Pull it. That should be all the connectors. I gotta watch it because I've got this trailer harness. That's part of it, the box for it. I didn't pull this whole thing out to get to it. I ended up installing it through here, so it's kind of just put in there. All right. The whole panel comes out, window shade and all on the Elite. All right, and like I said, if you don't have this is the Kurt trailer hitch. If you don't have that, then this whole jumbled wire a mess. These are actually really easy to install, by the way. I could do a video on that one day, but it just plugs in with this one little plug. It's factory setup, really. It's sweet. But now that I had this all apart, I was just going through a little access panel that only allowed you to get to the fuses. Now that I got this apart, I think I'm going to take it and find a better place to hide it. There's tons of room, especially back over here. So I'm going to do that while we're in here, but we're going to go ahead and get that exterior piece out so we get everything accessed. But this is kind of what you're going to find in here. And this is the cable. This is one of the cables going into the motor here. This is the other one, and it goes up and then out over here. You got to get this Phillips screw out in order to get that trim panel off. So there's not a lot of room in here since I can't get the door open very far. So I'm just using a Phillips screwdriver. Long one too. All right, so you got to get these two the T40 Torx. I'm just using one that's on the end of a 1/4-inch drive. This is the fun part. It feels like you're about to break something. There we go. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Well, that's that panel. I don't know if I broke that or not, but you know, it is what it is. So it's just engaged on these little hangers here. And that one was twisted, so next time I did that, I would want to take one of these. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Maybe slide it up under so you don't have any scratches. I don't think I did that. It's not, whatever these two are, they're not through the clear even, so. Alright, so the cable actually broke back here, it looks like. So this cable would continue along in this channel through this little piece here and in through here. That goes into the cabin. So I saw other people taking that pin out. I'm actually gonna try and do it just by taking these bolts out here. This is a 12mm gear wrench. All right, before I do that all the way, I gotta support this door. So before we get to disconnecting that, there is a support on the top, and then obviously there's the support on the bottom, that bracket right there. That hinge there. So, I mean, the door's not gonna go too far, but it's gonna wanna sag on the back end. So all you're really doing is supporting it and keeping it up. See how my bracket's already starting to kind of come down? only going up enough until I see the tension come off of my bracket. Right there. I'll lock the jack. Alright, so now you see how that's fully supported. All it's doing is just barely resting on the door. Don't freak out about this. This literally all you're doing is just supporting the back corner of the door. Go ahead and finish taking that bolt out. Alright, keep in mind, when you go hopping in and out of the car, that's going to move around on you a little bit. So, I don't know if you could see that on there. The door is moving separately than the van, obviously. So just keep that in mind, bear that in mind when you go hopping in and out, not to go jumping around a bunch. First thing I need to do is really gain access to the motor, which is right here, but where the cables go into this housing. There's a little box right here I gotta take off. I'm just gonna take that screw or that bolt, thread it back in, not all the way, but partly. Now I got access to that. Alright, so I need to take off these screws here. And when you take this off, there's probably going to be some crap in there. Alright, still got to take these bolts off here. Change up my tool here. No extension, because you got to get this bolt that's behind, so the bracket here. And I can see my cable that broke is all spooled up inside of there. Alright, so I've gone ahead and just stuffed a paper towel in there so it's not grinding against the door. Now, remember the cable snapped out here, so it pulled the excess through this hole and in. So I'll show you what this looks like on the other side. Whoa, it's coming through this little piece right here, and then the cable comes down through this grommet, and there used to be a cable going through there, but it is pulled all the way out. You can see the broken end right down here. So it came down and around and then went out and through this little sheathing in here, and then it wrapped around the pulley. Alright, should have a longer cable and a shorter cable. Alright, so that's going to be the front cable. And this is the rear cable. This little section right here is going to go from that hole I showed you there and then into there, and then obviously the other end will go back out to the pulley, or to the roller, the door roller that I have unbolted. All right, so I'm going to work on this piece here. It's just 3 10mm bolts. Okay. Kind of got to get it through the wiring harness here for this upper one. And since that cable's broke all the way, the entrance to this, I can just pull this right through. So that's what that little piece looks like. And now there's a hole in the side of the car. All right, and you got to kind of remember where this goes. It wraps back behind this. You wouldn't want to wrap it in front of it. It would make the cable, I don't know if it would make it. There's the other piece where I was showing you outside the car where it had broke. So that just sits right there. And then that's what it looks like when it's off. All right, so then the next one you got to get off, these 3 bolts, same thing, 10 millimeter. Just gonna break them free. All right, I've got the bolts out. They're bolts, they're not nuts. So remember, this is all attached still. So this cable actually comes through that little hole right there. You can see my finger now. And then it wraps around and connects to the hinge there. All right, so the next thing you gotta do is get these little things out. And you just take a flat blade and pry it up underneath it and pop them out. It's kind of they're not terrible, but they're not super easy. I just kind of got my flat blade behind it and pushed it out after it got to here. And they just kind of hold up. All right, and I guess the good thing about this being bound up still is that it won't turn on you. It's really not all that tight. But you gotta undo this bolt for the spool. Make sure you grab your phone before you do the next part and take some pictures of how this is all wound in here. Well, I'm recording, so I guess I don't really have to do that, but I want to pay particular attention, obviously, that this back one came up over the pulley, spun around, and then engaged on this front piece. The front cable is going to go back, and it's going to wrap around the pulley, and it's going to engage on the other end. There's going to be one identical to this on the other side. So you want to take these little things out, give you a little room, and these just pull straight out. This one obviously came out. I'm going to clean all this up. And then we're going to go ahead and pull this little guy off, maybe. Unfortunately, mine is really bound up the cable inside of here too, so I might have to get something to pry it. That might help. Now be careful when you're pulling on this stuff. It could have a sharp edge and really cut you really bad. Oh man, you sure bound up. Wonderful. It's just gonna have to be patient with it. Just slowly keep working it. I'm gonna take the little screwdriver and kind of pry it. I'm not going hard here. I don't want to break anything any more than it's broken already, huh? Probably put a little oil on this shaft. It might help. Man, it's bound up real bad. I mean, this spool is just unwound and it's coming. It's just going very slow. I'm trying not to break that plastic there either. There we go. It's coming now. Here we go. All right. So it was just bound up because these cables had come off the spool, and there's not a lot of clearance around this. All right, so I'm gonna kind of try and pay attention to how this was spun on there. Somewhat. All right. So the front cable, I was mistaken, front cable is the one that goes to the front spool. The back one goes to this back spool. You see where it's broken. So I was mistaken before, thinking the other way. All right. So that other cable with the door almost closed, there's not a whole lot of it on the spool, whereas the back cable with the door closed, this thing's wound all the way around it. And they trade positions depending on whether the door is open or closed. So you can see all the dirt in here. You want to clean all this up because that dirt's going to act like an abrasive and it's going to tear up the new one. That's the wheel all apart. I'm going to remember too, this side's got a circular opening. That's the side that goes back towards it. And they've actually got it Murphy proof there a little bit. You can see right here there's a boss on that plastic there that fits around this. If I tried to put this on backwards, it wouldn't go all the way in. All right, so now that we've got this on the front disconnected, we can go ahead and I'm going to take this piece here off. Figure out how it comes off first. You're gonna get this piece through there. Let's get it out of the bed, man. All right. Now I can take these two pieces and clean them up. But now we've got the cable free to the sheathing here. So we should be able to go in outside and it should pull this slack now. So now that I got all the slack in the world, this thing should come right back. Oh yeah. Alright, we want to pull this all the way out. Alright, and in order to disconnect this, you want to just take the cable and pull it this way, and then you'll push it through an opening here. Alright, in order to disconnect the cable, there's an opening here, and I'll show you once I clean this thing up. But you're going to take the cable, get it near the opening, and then you can take a flat blade and push, and that'll shove this little ferrule through. So same thing for the other side. You got to align it with the opening, push this little thing through. Come on. There we go. All right, so this is the opening that you align the cable with, otherwise the ferrule won't come out. Also, a good time now to check your bearings on this. If this was, if the bearings were wobbling really bad, I'd go ahead and replace this. But my bearings really are not bad. There's a little bit of play in that one, but that's not terrible. They're gonna have a little play. I'm gonna go ahead and clean all this up and then put some grease in it. All right, so I've gone ahead and cleaned everything up. I'll clean this puppy up real well. I'm gonna go ahead and, I looked in the manual and it just says general purpose grease or multi-purpose grease for these rollers. Like I said, you want to get them cleaned up and then you want to check them for play. So I can spin it. I can hear the bearings going around, but it's not like chattering. I can take my finger, and man, it's tough to even get the noise on video. There's no, it's not rocking. There's not a ton of like, I'm trying to take it and go like this with it, and then I'm trying to take it and go like this with it, and it's not moving like at all. This one has a little more play, but that's just that style of bearing. It's gonna have a little more play. All right, and then this one here, it's gonna kind of have that side to side play because it's the gap that's in between here is all that it's rolling on. So those are good and cleaned up. So now that it's all cleaned up, you can see the opening here that I slid the ferrules out of. I took these, cleaned these up too as best I could. I just took a paper towel and wiped them and wiped them and wiped them and wiped them some more. Tried to clean as much of the stuff out of there as I could. Oh, there's the other one. And then I cleaned this as well. I just took some isopropyl alcohol on this and wiped it off. So what I've done now is I've gone ahead and I kind of want to lay out my cables. So I'm going to lay the new one next to the old broken one, right? Obviously this piece isn't going to be on the other one because it's broken. So it's kind of hard to tell with the broken cable if it's the same length as the new one. I mean, it looks close. This thing's missing so many strands, so you know, it's kind of one of those things where you just kind of but overall it looks like it's about the right length. Kind of hard to tell on this one. I'm gonna get the other one set up. All right, so remember I disconnected this ferrule here over there, so I'm just gonna take it and pull this cable through. Whoa. And now I've got the whole cable right here. We'll take it out. All right, so I'm gonna lay the new cable out so you can see the ferrule on this one. And there's a little rubber piece. That piece is this piece right here. So I've got an extra bend in here, so this cable and then this cable at the end is all bent. I could straighten this all up and kind of see, but it looks like they're about the same size. Kind of tough to tell with something like this. All right, we're gonna work on the rear cable first. So you gotta retain this old sheathing because it's got this mount and bracket, so you gotta transfer this over. So here, take it up here. So this is the old one that broke, and it came out of this sheathing completely. So what we can do is just transfer it over one piece at a time. So this little piece comes out of there. So this is the rear cable, and it's going to go on this side with the circular side, whereas the other one goes with the little, I don't know, Y looking shape. Okay, so I can pretty much just get rid of the cable. All right, so the new cable, I'm just going to take and put in this piece here, and then you got to bend it to make it around that spool. So just like that. Then we've got to get this section on here. So you see these little, this thing's got this little rubber piece here. You can see those sticking through on this one. So we're just going to take those, and that side just ripped all the way. All right, and you can see I've got a little more cleaning to do here. All right, so in order to get this off, you're going to want to pry it up over this little piece right here. See, that's over the top of it. There's a gap. And I'm going to hold my finger right there, my thumb, and I'm going to lift right here. And then it snaps apart. Alright, so I'm just going to take, that just slides off afterwards. And then this little pin is just going to slide out of here. I'm going to need a pick or a... So the pin just comes all the way out, and that enables me to get this roller out of here. So I'm going to go clean this all up. Alright, so if you remember, this piece slides on to this piece like this. Okay. First we got to get the cable through there. Looks like once the cable's on, we can slide this cover on. So we'll get that on first. So you're going to want to take the side with the ferrule, this one on it, not the other side. The other side has the piece that goes into the wheel that's got a little rectangle. I'm going to make sure this piece is up on the outside, okay, because this is going to go into the outside of it. So we can come up through like this with that. So yep, that's going to go through there like that. All right. So we're going to take the wheel and put that in. Push the pin in through there. Now you want to make sure the cable is down under the groove. It's not on the side of it. Okay. And then this goes on here like this. Okay, so you just take it till it snaps. Now we have it trapped in there to where that thing's not coming out. I might pop it back open real quick and just put a little bit of white lithium grease on it, because I don't have the grease, the paste style, I just have the liquid. Be careful when you do that. You don't want that pin to slide out. Okay, so I just put a bunch right there. I might kind of clean up some of the excess there. I don't need quite that much. It'll just attract dirt. You can kind of work it in a little bit by pulling the cable. Okay, so we've got this piece on the ferrule side. And now we're going to come back with this cover and trap. Now all this really does is trap the pin in there. All right, so we got that piece. All right, so actually I did that one step ahead. Pop this back open because this ferrule end, or the other end of this, has to come up and engage in this first. Okay. Come on, there we go. Okay, and you want to push it down into the channel. See how it's locked? It's in there now. And then now we can go ahead and bring this and close that up. And then we're going to bring this piece, little rubber piece, down. All right. Now you're going to want to look at the car. Just double check. The 2 bolts are on the front, the single bolt is on the rear, and this cable has to come out of this pulley, obviously, and go that way. Now you can see by the way that this is turning, if you turn this way, you'd never get it on there. You see that? You're not going to get both things in. So it's kind of Murphy-proofed here. So you're going to take these little rubber pieces and push them through the little holes right here. Till they come out the other side. Make sure you have everything where you want it, because there's not a whole lot of going back once you pull these in. Alright. You could probably get it apart, but I'd be worried I'd damage that weather strip. And I ruined the other one, so I don't have a second one on hand anymore, just to get through it. Alright, so that is the cable loaded up. So now we can take this and throw it through the door. I'm going to go ahead and get the other cable built up first though. Alright, and then this is our old cable that is smashed right there. And then this end will go into the ferrule over there. So there's nothing really to do right there. The business we got to get down to is doing another roller. Alright. Okay. All right, so this one just has these little tabs, and you just squeeze and squeeze. Okay, I'm holding my finger under that pin so it doesn't fall. I'm going to slide that down the cable, and then I'm going to push that pin out again with a screwdriver, like that. Woo! And the cable just shoots off. Now I'm going to go clean this stuff up because this wheel, it's all full of nasty muck. And so is the inside of this, full of nastiness. Alright, brought you in a little closer. So, what you want to do now is get this all assembled. Obviously, this is the new cable, this is the old cable. But before you get going with putting all this together, so I got that all cleaned out. I got the roller all cleaned up. I put a little lithium grease on it. It's kind of sitting there drying. What you need to do is get this little plastic piece that goes on the back of this on here, or you won't get it together from here. So you're going to want to pull the cable back a little bit, because this piece is going to have to go. Let's see, I'm trying to think of how this thing goes. Yeah, like that. So you can get this on afterwards though. We got to get this transferred through first. So I'm trying to see how this, oh okay, it's just got a little tab on the back. You just pry it off. All right, and then we could take, I don't know whether it would be easiest to go all the way back through this way. Oh man. Well, my new one you can see is very rubbery, very easy to squeeze through. I'm probably just going to go ahead and cut this one off. Maybe. It's pretty tough. Alright. Actually, I was able to salvage it and get it through. Alright. So it's coming off straight like that. I'm just going to take this over and clean it up real quick. Okay, so this little thing just has these little tabs right here. You can kind of see in the molding of the thing there. They fit right in this little groove right here. So, all right, so this is going to go through here like this. So we'll get the ferrule through, and then we'll squeeze our little piece. Now this side's harder because you got to get it through. I think once it gets started, it'll be fine. There we go. Okay, so we got this pulled through. Now you're just going to take this and push it over till it engages. I can kind of grab this and pull, and I can see on the inside those little teeth down here. I can take my finger and actually push it over to make sure that's seated on there. So same thing for this side. Push it past it, and then put your finger right here. And you can see that the rubber has moved past the plastic there. So now I can kind of get both sides a tug. It's engaged. Because you don't want, the door is going to be going in and out, right, of that grommet, and I'm going to have to put some lube on this cable. You can see it would not, it's binding up on that really bad. In fact, let's just do that real quick. All right. Take a little bit of this white lithium grease and just put it on the cable. And we'll get this and now this little guy slides freely on there. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get this put through. So you got to make sure your cable, see the long end, versus the short end up above. Got to make sure the cable's up on this end, because when this engages in here, you want it, that cable is coming out the top and going around that and coming down. If you had the cable coming out over here, then it'd really be taking a ride around that pulley. That's not how it works. Alright, so I just went up and checked, just to double check this. So when it comes through the door there on the front end, these two are on the back end, and this is on the front end. So this is actually how it's sitting in the vehicle, because we're at the trunk, obviously. So they have it to where it makes the corner like this. They don't have it down over here. The cable doesn't travel that path in there. So if you just reverse this, it wouldn't work for you. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and get the cable in here and then put this back together. So I'm just going to take the cable and drop it down in there. And drop my roller down in there. Okay. And then again, I just want to make sure the cable is engaged in the roller and not to the side of it. So I'm looking across the top there. Yeah. So it's straight down the center. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and spray just a teeny bit of white lithium grease on that again. Should have put down a towel or something in here. It's okay, this is mine. If I mess it up, I just have myself to be mad at. Okay. And you really want to grease these all this stuff up with white lithium grease so that seal doesn't drag on it. Okay, our pin is in there. That's what keeps the pin in. Okay, so we've rebuilt these cables now. Now we're ready to put them in. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and white lithium grease these. I'm going to basically spray a little on my fingers and then rub the cables with them. At this point, you really don't want to let these cables hit the ground, because it's going to pick up dirt, and then that dirt is going to act like sandpaper. In fact, before I put it all the way in, I got to clean the track. Alright, so I'll just go ahead and grease these cables before I clean the tracks. Alright, so I've been cleaning inside this track for a while, and it was filthy. I mean, I've cleaned it quite a bit. I keep getting stuff off, but I basically just sprayed a little bit of WD-40 in here, right along on the track like this, and then just came in with my rag or my paper towel and have just been scrubbing. You got to be careful. I see some gouging. The rollers have been grinding through the chrome on here. I need to look at the inspection criteria to see if I need to replace this track. I may. Just kind of cleaning it up to see how bad the damage is. So be mindful if you see any of that. There's going to be little burrs. You don't want to get your finger on there. You'll catch those little pieces of metal and have a bunch of metal splinters. So I'm just going to go the whole length of the track. Just get it as clean as I can. I may have to stop and order a track. It just kind of depends on what this thing looks like when I get it all cleaned up. Oh. So this really is taking kind of the longest, just cleaning this up. This track was filthy. Probably why the cable broke. I mean, it was disgusting getting that cleaned. Now, there is a little bit of material taken away. It really looks like the plating, in all honesty, is all that has come up. So what I'm doing now is just taking a very fine, flat file. I'm trying not to scratch it any more than it is, and I'm just trying to file down those hard edges where the plating is flaking in large pieces. Because this material is really thick. I mean, you're not, it's going to be a long time before that roller grinds through. I mean, I've seen tracks like this, even on airplanes, that this was not a reason for you to replace it. I don't know how much this track is. I might go look that up tomorrow because it doesn't look terrible to replace it. It's got fasteners behind these little pins on the inside. It's just kind of getting to some of them. Might be a little tough. But I'm going to clean this up this way, and then I'll go ahead and grease it, and we'll see how smoothly it rolls. I think it's going to roll a lot smoother than it did because there was so much dirt inside of here. I'm surprised this cable didn't snap sooner. Now I kind of wonder, want to maybe go clean the other side just to keep it from snapping. Not tonight, but another day. Alright, so I've got all the burrs cleaned up to where I can run my finger across the whole thing and not get a little splinter or anything. It's obviously worn through the plating. I think it'll be alright. I'm going to grease up the rollers, and we're going to put that piece in. Pin the cables in it first, because that's got to go in before you start putting cables in. Alright, so I'm going to work some white lithium grease down inside of this bearing by just spraying it on top of it and then spinning it. You just kind of keep spinning it. Alright. I'm going to work some down in these two and just spray it on both sides and spin it. So just kind of glob it up with spray. I'm just going to turn it a bunch because that'll just kind of work the lubricant in. I cleaned it in my parts washer, so I'm starting off with whatever grease I want. I like white lithium grease. It just lasts longer than WD-40. Now, this is kind of a sealed bearing, so I kept my parts washer away from it as much as I could. And then I'll dab up the excess. And then we're going to take a little bit of white lithium grease too, and we're going to put it on the track where the rollers are going to ride. Let's see. So this is in there like this. So this bottom roller is the one that was gouging into the track, and really it's not worn at all. It spins freely. These go up here and they ride on here and here like that. So they're going to ride on that edge and they're going to ride on the other edge. So you'll want to take white lithium grease and get it along this edge, and then also get it along this edge up here. So on the track, just get a little bit on your fingers. It doesn't need to go on thick. You just wipe it all the way down on both the top and the bottom. Alright, so I sprayed some in here and both sides, and I'm just working it into this. I sprayed a little bit too where the spring contacts. I'm gonna wipe up some of the excess around it. Alright, so let's see, I need my long one or my short one, the one with the spool on it here. It's got two screws here. We're gonna take it and it's gonna go up through that little hole right there and out. And then you can kind of feed this. Oh, we got to make sure this has got to go through there first. Okay, there we go. All right. So that goes on there kind of like so. All right. And then this is the weather strip that's going to come up against it when I bolt it down. I'm just going to take this and put it inside of here for now. All right. And I'm going to go in here and bolt this down. All right. So I put a bolt on there. I put another nut rather. Put the other nut up there. I'm just taking these till they're snug. All right, so then the cable comes out and it's going to go into this spool right there. Now we're going to take this one again, the ferrule end with the circular end. We're going to take it and it's going to go through this hole. I'll show you where I put it out on the back side when we get there. All right. It's going to go in like that. Oh, look what I did wrong. I forgot to engage this into this piece. It's okay. I caught it before it became a problem. Okay. So that's gonna go in there. Okay. So did you see what I did? I popped this down and then slid the ferrule in with this out of the way. But all right, and then we can take this. All right, these we can take and put into the inside of this. And then these just clip down. You just push them in. All right, so out here, I had fed the cable out over onto here. It fell down, but I'm just going to take it and set it here so I have both of them right kind of where I need them. All right, I've already lubed all this stuff up. I'm going to make sure I do that one first. I was going to do the other one first. So again, these just come in and you line it up with this opening and then you turn it. That's actually what locks it in there. It can't come out because obviously it's trapped. Okay, so then the same thing with this one. All right. And so then we're just going to take this, put it in the track, and I'm just going to leave that right there for right now, and I'm going to pull some of the cable back through. and then we're going to get this thing situated. At this point I can essentially control where this is at by pulling the cables. Only problem with that, this is laying against the paint, so I don't want to move it and drag it across the paint. So I'm just going to slowly move it up, and then I'm going to go in there, pull that cable taut, and just keep working it slowly. Okay, I've got the cable pulled. Whoa. I'm gonna go ahead and put those 2 bolts back in that hold the door. All right. Now, the only disadvantage to doing it the way I did with not pulling the pin is if you pull the pin, the door is going to be at the exact same spot. Now, I can kind of see where the bolts were before because I cleaned it, but I didn't clean it so much that I like took acetone to some of that dirt. So I'm going to try and just kind of match where it was. And it keeps moving on me. It's okay, I'm going little by little. Take it up till it gets tight and then back off. Okay. But I'm going to try and match that around there and come back. Alright, so I went ahead and ran it down, but you could see around that bolt where it was. I could have paint marked it or something before too if I wanted to. Just taking a mark or even a Sharpie and gone around it in a blue Sharpie or something right around where it was. That'd be a really good tip to do it if I did it again. But I'm pretty confident it's going to be right about where it was. If not, what I'm going to end up doing is adjusting it so when it closes, I'll make sure that all these profiles match up. And if they don't, it needs to come up or down, then I can come down here and bring this up or down, which it's easy to get to. Here we go. So this piece has got to go engaged in there, and then the other one has got to be engaged right there. I need to lube up this cable just a little more. Just wipe just very lightly. Alright, so here's my little pieces here. You're going to take the ferrule, or the square end of the ferrule, and you're going to go down inside of it there, and you got to kind of shove it through until it comes out. Now, if you recall, this sat in here. These little pins sit right in these little grooves right here. So if you recall, the back cable sits along the back of this spool. So there's the back side. It's got to be the circular part to match up with that there. So you really, in order to get as much of this wound on, if this half's got to go on first, in order to get this on, I'd say we open the door all the way and get all the cable pulled back as far as we can. Try and wind all this on, and then we'll have a very minimum amount on the front cable. So let's go ahead and move the door. Alright, so before we move the door, we got to take the jack off of it. I got the main door back on its hinge that I attached earlier. I'll take my jack and move it out of the way for now. Don't need lots of wood. So now we're slowly just going to take the door and bring the door back with the cable, if we can. It's going to be tough. Just going to have to stand back here and feed the cable through here. I don't want to stop and redo this. Alright, so I was pulling the handle on the door back here, And then I was between here and here, I was just pushing the cable into the sheathing because otherwise it was wanting to kind of curl up and go everywhere. So you get the door back to this spot where it'll kind of lock back, and then we can go in. And we can go back in this side now for once. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make sure this cable is in the track. We can take it and again push it through the little bung into the inside. All right, so we're going to take this and wind as much of this up as we can. Kind of the bizarre part here, how it makes that turn. Okay. Partly kind of put it on the motor for a second. So what I did was wind it on there as much as I can. And so this is through that little piece. And so I'm kind of pulling it taut. I'm trying to keep as much tension on the cable as possible. And I'm sliding it onto the piece here. Now we're gonna have to pull it back and wind this one on here in a second. So you're gonna want to take this. Oh, this little piece is gonna go in here like this. So I'm gonna go through this and down through the under it again. Okay. It's going to come out here, so we want to make sure it's engaged on the pulley. Cool. All right. So we're going to take this and put it in a little keyway, put it up over, and we'll wrap it around. And all the while, I'm still kind of holding this. Got to keep tension down here. That's why this is kind of pulling out, because I'm twisting this way, clockwise, as I'm putting this in. And I kind of feed it through there. And this is kind of the last little bit that you got to kind of take some of the slack out. Oh, come on. You can see it's on there. It's just not in the... What's happening is the springs are being compressed to hold this tight. And I'm fighting the springs to get the pulley up high enough. So I've just got to get it... There we go, just like that. Which the springs just keep tension on this, so then when it spins, it's pulling it on there, and it's keeping it around this spool nice and tight. If the springs weren't there, as the cable wears and stretches, it wouldn't work. It'd eventually just fall off the spool. All right, let's put the nut on, and then we're going to hand actuate the door a few times. I'm probably going to put this cover on as well. I don't know. I'm thinking this cover keeps these pieces from coming out. I don't want to find out the hard way and bind up this cable, this brand new cable.
Here I was just checking to make sure it's completely seated, and I was also checking to see if it snapped, because I couldn't remember when I pulled it apart. But it doesn't snap together.
Probably also shouldn't move this motor without it bolted in 3 places, because as it spins, it could bind it, I bet. All right, so with it in this state, I would just go ahead and let's go ahead and manually close the door, and then we'll operate it a few times, kind of lube the exposed sections of the cable.
And then we'll do it with the button.
All right, and so I'm just gonna hold my rag with a little bit of white lithium grease on it around the cable here. Push the door shut. We'll do the same on the front. In fact, on the front, it goes around the radius and the track. So I'm going to take a little bit of white lithium grease and spray it on the cable itself in the track. It's gliding very smooth. All right, moment of truth. All right, that worked. All right, so on the front. All right, so on the front section here, I just took the white lithium grease spray and sprayed it along the top of that there. And I'm gonna spray a little bit more because as it goes around this radius here, it's literally the plastic is just running in. Like this area should be greased pretty frequently, I would say, because this thing is literally just gliding along this corner. That plastic sheathing is the only thing that's keeping it from coming apart. Anyway, so that's what it looks like greased up here. Oh, you really can't access any more of the cable once it's all put together in here. It's all in the sheathing all the way to the motor. So really all you can do is grease out here. Now let's try it with this switch. Now I have had this door act up with either the key fob and not the other. Oh, we're looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and spray a little more along here. And then just kind of rub it in through here. Okay, I can start putting it back together. I went ahead and pried the last few pieces out of here. So you want to look this puppy over. Make sure all these are put back in. Now it's got a sharp edge. Trying to push it in without it cutting me. Oh, there we go. Did not want to go in. There we go. All right. So this piece can't go in until the side trim's in because it engages in there. All right, I went ahead and cleaned up my wires a little bit for this. Got to take this back out, this bolt for this little whatever it is. Some electronic box. It's all tight. Let's kind of go back through everything. We've got 3 connectors to reconnect. Can you see this one? Yeah. This one back here is for the outlet. This is for the power, the other outlet, the 110 outlet, and this was for the audio stuff. I already went ahead and vacuumed back here, so that's not a bad idea. Clean everything up, but I don't see anything else that we missed. We'll go over everything. These bolts are all tight. These are all engaged. Yeah. All right. You got a little different view this time going in. We have this sound deadening mat around the subwoofer area. Most important thing. Gotta get the seatbelt in there, over the top of it. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my cigarette lighter. This other seat belt has got to go around it first before you go tacking it in. I'm gonna have the door open anyway. Okay. The seat belt down around it. It comes out from under this right there, that little cutout. Let's see. This little cutout right here. Well, before I got it in here, I double checked that all the little panels, the green little panel things were in here, and they are. All right. So just get this piece in here and start working everything in one by one. Bottom really just kind of sits in place. The top is really holding it all. So gotta make sure you plug in your last 2 connectors. Don't do that. Don't forget those. So we got 3 connectors. So you want to get it down below the window line here, and you probably want to go ahead and just get everything kind of engaged. Go ahead and start in this back corner. There we go. Wonderful. That clip was broken. I'm gonna have to order a couple of these and unfortunately take this back off if I if it rattles. All right, so then you get this right in place. And it's just when you push down. That sounds terrible. All right. All right, what I'm doing is I'm going to take them out and put them on the panel. See if that'll do it. What you do to get these out is turn them about 45 degrees and then pull. They're real easy to pull out. Okay, so you'll know if it's all the way in if this panel is laying flat against it, and it is. I forgot to show you when this was off, but there's like a sliding plastic plate nut piece in this. So when I tighten it, it's actually going to pull this little piece of plastic. I can see it moving. You might be able to see it there. It's behind the screw. All right, and that's snug. All right, let's close the door and check. Turn the power on. Let's check what it looks like on top, since I disconnected the hinge. What I'm looking for is a pretty even reveal across the top. It's not like sagging. I don't see it up real high on the front and down real low on the back. And then down here, we want to check the body line. It looks like it's got plenty of clearance, and it looks like it's pretty consistent across the bottom. So we don't have like a ton of gap up there and no gap here. That would tell me the door needs to come up. All right, and the last little bit of trim that's got to go in is that. I already threw the seat in. So on this, you've got the pins that go straight down, and then the pins that'll push against the body. Those will be last. So we're gonna put this portion in first. In fact, we'll just pop this weather seal up. I need to change it. Pop the weather seal up. I'm gonna push it down here, and then push back on those two. And then you can take these little things, thread them in. This one up here. Now I can take this trim, push it back along here. Weather strip rather. Okay, and now it's complete. It's working with every single button. Through my hand. Good to go. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Thank you.